you looking to implement small groups in your upper elementary or middle school classroom? Not sure if you have the time to plan for these groups? Are you worried that these types of small groups don't work in upper grades? Well, I am here to tell you that they absolutely do, and I have a realistic way to implement daily intervention groups that requires little to no prep, and you can start tomorrow. If you'd prefer to have a step-by-step written instruction, please check out my website, teachingintherealworld.com. I have free printable PDFs along with a blog post and a step-by-step resource of how to implement your daily intervention groups tomorrow. So you might be wondering, what even is an intervention group? Well, this is a group that you will hold every single day. Consistency is key. The groups typically last for 10 to 15 minutes maximum. However, they can absolutely be less than this. You typically only have 2 to 6 students within the group, and the groups are fluid, meaning that they're changing every single day based upon student needs. Yes, you will always have repeat offenders, students that appear in the group more than others. However, the group is changing constantly. Finally, your daily intervention group counts as a Tier 2 intervention. The next question I often get is what is the purpose of even holding this daily intervention group? This is something that can be hard for you to wrap your brain around. The purpose of the daily intervention group is to focus on the lesson objective presented that day. Your goal is to prevent any future learning gaps. You're making sure that every student is as close to mastery as possible of that lesson objective that you've presented that day. So the question comes about, are daily intervention groups even worth it? And I can give you a very clear and definite yes. They are absolutely worth it. Once I started utilizing daily intervention groups in my upper elementary classroom, I found that my summative assessment scores were better. And once students completed standardized testing, I was determined to use daily intervention groups forever. Daily intervention groups are great because they allow you to spend that extra one-on-one time with small groups of students, something that doesn't always happen as our students get older in upper elementary and middle school. So by getting to give this focus to our students in a small group, they can see that we truly care. And when students see that we care, then they care, and they'll work harder for us. The other reason why these daily intervention groups work so well is because, as you know, your lessons build upon each other. So if you're making sure that every lesson is mastered to the best of the student's ability, the next lesson will go even better. You're making those daily lesson objectives real, tangible. They mean something. By showing students that we're working towards this goal of mastering this lesson objective, they can see that it's not something that you just wrote on the board or that you referred to at the start of your lesson. You have a goal every single day for them, and they can step up to that goal now that you're there to offer the support. In the end, daily intervention groups are a win-win for everyone. All right, let's talk about intervention group setup. The only thing that you need to set up your intervention groups is spiral notebooks. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to have a spiral notebook for every subject or each class that you teach. What I mean by this is if you teach one group of students multiple subjects, then you'll want a spiral notebook for each subject. One for math, one for ELA, one for science, one for social studies, whatever subjects you're teaching. If you teach one subject to multiple classes, then you'll want to have a spiral notebook for each and every class. Period 1, period 2, period 3, and so forth. The spiral notebook serves as your documentation. This is where you are going to write your lesson objective at the top of the page each day and the date. On each page, you'll write down students that you see for that specific lesson objective in your intervention group. That's all you need to do to prepare. A spiral notebook. Pretty simple. The next thing you need to do for your intervention group setup is that you'll need to follow a typical lesson plan structure. You'll start off with your introduction or anticipatory set. Next, you move on to the modeling portion. Then guided practice, where you and the class work together, whether it's cooperative learning, whiteboards, group work, whatever you do to engage the students in practicing this skill. And the third thing that you'll do is the independent practice. Now, independent practice is important in this lesson plan structure because the independent practice is actually what you will use in your intervention group to go over with students that attend. After independent practice, bring the class back together for closure, and then of course, a formative assessment. You'll need to see how those students did after attending your intervention group. And that's it, a spiral notebook and a lesson plan structure. You're ready to do intervention groups. All right, the next item to tackle is who will be attending your intervention group. So what you will do is during guided practice, when your students are working through problems, collaborating as a group, or utilizing their whiteboards, you'll be observing, watching, looking for those students who aren't fully grasping the lesson objective of that day, looking for the students who might be struggling or need a little extra support. Those are the students that you're going to write down in your spiral notebook. Those are the students that will be attending your intervention group for that day. If you find that it is more than 6 students that are needing support, then that likely means that you need to revisit this lesson objective the next day as a whole class. Everybody needs a little extra support. Once you've established who's going to attend your daily intervention group and you've finished up your guided practice, it's time to move on to the next part of your lesson, which is the independent practice. The students that seem to be grasping the concepts and are ready to keep moving forward will work independently at their desks on their independent practice. The students that you wrote down in your spiral notebook will get called to a small group table and you'll work with them as a group on that same independent practice. You are not creating anything new. You are simply using what you had already planned for the entire class, but in a small group setting. 1, this cuts down on the prep work for you, but 2, it allows you to make sure that all of the students are getting the same opportunities to practice this material. Now, keep in mind, in your small intervention group, you likely will not finish the entire independent practice because you will be going through the problems together. You will pick and choose the parts of the independent practice that suit the students' need to fill in gaps, and that's what you'll work towards. How can you help these students to get towards mastery of that daily objective? Once your time is up, no more than 15 minutes or less if needed, you'll dismiss these students back to their seat and continue on with the next part of your lesson. Okay, you are ready to wrap up your lesson. You've dismissed your group back to their seats. Everyone has their independent practice completed to the best of their abilities. You'll go over that, you'll close up your lesson, and of course, you'll complete a formative assessment. This formative assessment is really important because it's going to let you know if the things that you did within your intervention group helped. It'll let you see where these students stand, where all of your students stand. So you'll have them complete that, and then off they go to their next class or transitioning to the next subject. Now, once you look at your formative assessments, if you see that there are still students that are struggling or students that need a little bit of extra support, that's when you'll touch base with them the following day. Daily intervention groups don't have to be complicated. Keep it simple. 1, use spiral notebooks to help you to document students that are attending your group and write down their progress. 2, make sure you're focusing on that daily lesson objective that you're presenting to students. That is the focus of your intervention group. Prevent those future learning gaps. 3, please don't reinvent the wheel. If you follow a typical lesson structure, you're going to have independent practice put into that lesson. Use that independent practice in your small groups. You don't need to plan additional activities. Lastly, make sure that you follow up with your students. If they didn't quite get it during that intervention group time, check in with them. Make sure that they are understanding. Keep that learning gap from forming. Intervention groups are possible in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade and beyond. All you need to do is keep it simple, keep it consistent, and keep it real. If you need any more additional tips on teaching in the real world, please check out my website, www.teachingintherealworld.com. I've got free printable PDFs available for teachers, as well as my blog post. Check out my other videos as well, and please like and subscribe.